Welcome back to Who Knows Best. Guys, tonight I'm thrilled we have a special guest. Meagan is joining us for a powerful and thought provoking discussion. Our topic for the evening is embracing change, pivoting into the unknown and leading with generosity. We all know that change can be downright intimidating, especially when it forces us to uncharted territory. But Meagan is here to share her wisdom and insights on how to not only embrace these shifts, but also lead others with an open heart and a spirit of generosity. Now, before we get into all the good stuff, we're going to take a moment and let's introduce ourselves. Guys, I am Cassie Bollinger, and let's hear from the rest of the crew.
I am Robin Hatfield.
What's up, you guys? I'm joining them tonight, and I am Meagan Clark.
And now that we've all got to say hello, let's dive in. If you've ever faced a moment to where you had to pivot, take a leap of faith, or guide your team into uncertain times, you won't want to miss this conversation. Meagan's story and strategies will leave you feeling empowered and ready to tackle whatever comes your way. So let's give a warm welcome to Meagan. Meagan, I can't wait to hear your thoughts on how you're going to turn an opportunity for growth.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on y'all's podcast tonight. And yes, I feel like that it is so important as not only a business owner, but as a Cincy consultant to, have I'm so grateful and thankful to have a moment where I've been able to get to a point in my business where I have been able to learn the hard way, how to pivot in the uncertainty. And what I mean by that is, I'm coming off of joining in late 2019. So, whenever I first joined, I, hit into the whirlwind of we were all there of how amazing and busy it was. And I remember there was a time where I was very much like copy and paste, and I was doing all the things that everyone else was doing. And then, that worked to a certain point, and it was very successful for the time being. And during that process, during that time, I did go through quite a lot of pivotal, which is you'll find probably in this podcast, I'll say that a lot because it's one of my favorite words. But a lot of pivotal moments that not so great things, that were happening to me. And, when you're balancing, being a business owner and, family life and being a spouse and all the personal things, it can wreak havoc, into our life. And I feel like that one of the biggest blessings that I had for myself was during the last 5 years, going to therapy. And that was one of the biggest turnarounds that I had was I had, that's actually a lot of people don't know this, my background is in therapy. So my background, I have a bachelor's in psychiatry. And for the longest time, right out of college, therapy was beneficial, never ever thought I'd get back into it. But it's one of the biggest blessings that I had because I got to a bit of a crossroad, not only in my personal life, but work life, where it was like I was going through the motions. And it was, things that I was doing was no longer serving me. And I was just kind of taking it one day at a time and kind of, la 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 and not really. And I love to say that I thrived in chaos. And that's how it was for me the last couple of years. And it served me well. And, it was great and it was fine. However, towards the end of last year, I got to a point where I just felt like I needed something new. And I didn't know what that looked like. And, I was like, I knew the old me would have been like, one for all and all for one. And I would just like wipe the slate clean and then just start over with everything, right? And I knew better because that was the part of me, like the ADHD, like hyperfixation, where I was like, oh, let's just start over and wipe it clean and we're just going to start fresh. But I knew what was important for me was to take it like one step at a time, and then be like, okay, what is something that one thing that I can pinpoint in my business, whether it was my VIP group, whether it was my team, that I can do different, and what does that look like for me? And I feel like that last year was one of the toughest, biggest part of my life, I feel like, in my business for growing, because I was doing things that was not quite like it was in the beginning, where it was a copy and paste. It was more like, okay, what can I do and do it on my own, and it was like making decisions on my own. And it was leaning in on not only my therapist, but then also my close knit friends in my Cincy community. And it was interesting too, because it was a matter of finding balance between what served me it was, yes, leaning on them and asking for their opinion, but not necessarily being swayed in how they would do things. And that's one of the beauties of my close-knit friends that I have, is that we work our businesses so different from one another. And I love that so much because it gives me chills just thinking about it, because I can approach them with a new idea and they're not going to turn me down. They're not going to shut me down. They're going to cheer me on and gracefully say, like, well, it's not really exactly how I would do things, but have that mutual respect. And I feel like little by little, I have had to make very drastic changes. And when I say drastic, it means, for example, getting rid of my VIP group. And I know that that is very taboo in Cincy land. And it was something that I had grown and cultivated for close to about 4 years. And it served me, and it served me well. But it just got to a point where I just wanted to shake things up, do things different. So that's just one of the examples of, where I was like, do it and do it scared. Because the thing is that even though it's scary, we can always pivot and come back. And if I find it didn't work out, then I can always come back, start back over, right? I can start my VIP group over. I can start fresh. But it was just one of those things where I feel like if I didn't make like the drastic change, um, how am I going to know? Right? Like, how am I going to know the outcome until I try? And was it scary? Yes. And there are moments where I have thought about, do I want to go back? Do I need to go back? But I'm good now. Like, it was definitely very scary, I would say, at the very end of the year, because it was the unknown, right? Like, doing the unknown, like, I didn't know what to expect. But that, but it's like a matter of shifting and figuring out, like, if I'm going to get rid of this, what am I going to do instead? Because I feel like it just can't be like an all or nothing. But I knew that I needed to progress and make changes, because it just wasn't filling my cup. Things like that, it wasn't serving me. But it was in a way of like, how can I do things differently to where it's going to bring me more joy, more happiness, and I'm going to, appreciate, the process. But I mean, what do y'all think about that? Like, have y'all ever gotten to a point, in your business or in your life where you're just like, you know what, it's time to pivot. It's time to shake things up a little bit.
Robin?
Yeah, no, I actually got rid of my VIP group as well, because what I was seeing with the algorithm, people weren't even getting notified that I was posting in there. So I'm sharing consistently in there, but there's no interaction. No one's buying. No one's even seeing my posts. So I'm like, what is the point of me putting this effort into this group that's not even giving me any results? So
Mhm.
I shared in the group. I'm like, look, if you guys want to stay up to date with what I got going on, you can follow my business page, or you can hop in my weekly email, because I'm not going to waste my energy on something that's just not producing. And so I was the same way. I got rid of it. I cut it out.
Yeah, and me as well. I also got rid of the VIP and I moved everything to my business page. And I do run parties when I have parties available. I run parties off of there because it's like, hey, the links are at the top. If you see something, you can click on your friend's link. It was a different way, a different perspective. And I was the same as you. I came in middle of 2020, so May of 2020. And so I was the post and pray because it would work. Like I could sit there, copy paste, post and pray, and orders were just falling in, and it was like, wow, like this is easy. This is like, oh yeah, I'm running my business. And it's like, then it didn't work. And so I'm totally on the same part, is that you sometimes have to just be like, we're going to move this element out of the way and we're going to see what happens. And then
Yeah.
we also relate to the four of us that when we started this podcast, because we all are in a different part of our lives, and we all run our businesses different. We all have different, I guess, accolades. Like there's some of us, because Jackie's been in for 14 years. Robin's been in, is it 12?
8.
8. Oh my gosh. 8. And then like Lisa and I were both in 2020.
Hmm.
But we all run our business, and we have really good, we have good features, and then we also have stuff we struggle with. And what we struggle with, someone else is really good at. So it's kind of like, I'm trying to put this together, but how would I say this? Like Lisa's my picture girl, and she's also with words. And then, and Robin just knows how to sit there, and she knows how to time manage like anybody else, because she's running here and there. And when people say, they ain't got time, I'm like, look at Robin over here. Like, she's running 5 kids around and she's still working her business. So,
and my husband's not here to help. I've been doing it solo.
yeah.
So shit's hard.
Wow.
So yeah, we are so on the same page with you. So yeah, I mean, like,
Well, and I mean, here's the thing: is that I definitely want to preface this for those that are watching the podcast and watching, later on, is that it's not to. I don't want to knock anyone that does have at all like a VIP group, because here's my thing: is that I actually held on to my VIP group a year longer than what I wanted to, and the reason why was because I had cultivated and created this community, this tight knit community, where yes, we were having fun in there. Yes, I did have a certain amount of people that were the ones that were constantly interacting. And I know that those are the ones that had the hardest time whenever I did make the official announcement. It's not like I deleted the party group or the VIP group and was like, peace, that's that. And then like no notice. Like I gave them, I feel like it was about a month before I closed it out, because I know myself, I need closure. So I was like, I want them to have closure. But I also know at the same time that if I was to get rid of my VIP group, there absolutely has to be a way for all of us to have a somehow, some way where we're still connecting with our customers, where we're still building relationships with them. Because that's the one thing, it was the hardest for me to get rid of the group. It was weighing me down because it was time consuming. But the reason why I kept it for so long was because it was like a safe space for them to come. And it was a place for them to check out, because it wasn't all business-y, right? It was like me incorporating Cincy into my life, and it had such a safe haven for them, that it was like, okay, how can I, extract this out of the VIP group and just make sure that I'm still serving, my customers and showing up from them in a way where it's still not salesy. And so I feel like if someone was to ask me, okay, I'm thinking about getting rid of my VIP group, do you think that I should do this? Then I would say to them, if you have a backup plan, if you have a way that you're still not going to, but you already are connecting with your customers outside of your VIP group, then I would say by all means, cut the cord, delete it, see what happens. Like I said before, worst case scenario, someone can circle back, redo it again. But my thing is that there are so many other ways that I cultivate and create those connections with my customers, that I knew without a doubt that it was going to be a little bit of a sore subject from like a couple months on. But then after that, no one at any point, and also because I have an influx of new customers coming in, right? So then at no point anybody was like, gosh, I wish you still had that VIP group around, like, oh, I miss it so much. Like
I think
life has not been the same.
I've only had one person that she's like, I just missed your daily post. I'm like, it's on my business page. Like, you can still get them.
And
Like, I still have
that's what I
them.
do now.
I was like, and I was the same spot as you, is that I wasn't getting interaction for the amount of time I was putting in. And for me, it's when you have to go back to, and when you're starting to pivot, you have to think about like, what is time consuming and am I getting any results? Like, if I was still killing it with like 3,000, 4,000 PRV every month, and it was from these people in this group, I'm not getting away from that VIP. But whenever I only have 2 paying customers in that group, and I'm spending 20 hours a week or 10 hours a week, I don't really think that those orders were sufficient for me to keep going with the VIP group when I was posting basically the same stuff on my personal page and my business page. So it was kind of like, do I stay with 3 pages, or can I focus a little bit more here and not so much everywhere?
Mm-hmm. Well, and the thing is too, is like I would also say that if like a couple of things that I'm sure somebody watching this will be like, well, if I get rid of my VIP group, how can I cultivate those relationships, with my customers? And so a couple of
thinking the
things that
same thing. I was gonna ask you that.
I'm right there with you. So a couple of things that are easy peasy, that's kind of already in a way set up for us, is first and foremost, we should already be friends with our customers on Facebook. So if that's the case, most people on Facebook have their birthdays on Facebook. So typically, I already have a running list that helps me in my phone that reminds me already when my customers' birthdays are. But one thing I try to do at the first of every month, is go onto Facebook and click on birthdays. And Facebook is really cool about showing you ahead of time the birthdays for the month. Amazon is my best friend because I get birthday bulk cards off of Amazon. Also, I like to have blank cards because my customers, again, if we're following them on social media, I'm not going to catch it all the time, but if I do tend to, usually either early in the morning or late at night, we all scroll, let's be honest, but I'm going to scroll with intention. So when I'm scrolling with intention, I'm going on to specific profiles. Even if you're scrolling, honestly, if you're scrolling and you see your customers, I make sure that I'm commenting, I'm interacting. I'm really good about, I'll take screenshots if I see somebody that's like, oh, my pet just passed away, or I have a family member that just passed, or if it's good things, like found a new house or got a new job, I'll take a screenshot. And because, ADHD people, we love our screenshots. And
Why are you talking to me?
oh Lord, I swear to y'all,
I
sometimes I'll go
resemble that
back.
conversation.
Sometimes I'll go back, I'll be like, I don't even know why I screenshotted this, but
I know. Oh my gosh, I just went through my phone today. I'm so sorry. I just went through my phone today and I was like going through, I was like, what was this for? Oh my gosh, like who was that? Oh, I don't know. It'll hit me later.
Yeah. So like that's one big easy way that I can connect with my customers, right? And if you want to take it an extra step further, I like to use my host rewards for the send circles. So I'll put the send circle in the card. I usually at that point don't label it just because it's not like a hey, here's a sale, here's a sample. It's like, hey, just thinking of you. And I've noticed it makes all the difference with my customers, no matter what the circumstances are. And then what does help me in the future, because we all have a calendar on our phone. So for those that, so I personally use Project Broadcast, but I know not everyone does, and that's okay. So if you don't use Project Broadcast, you can actually go into your calendar on your phone. As soon as you find out that it's your customer's birthday, put it on the calendar on your phone, and there's a reminder that you can actually edit that'll remind you for years to come.
Yep.
So it'll pop up to the top of your phone every single time. If someone doesn't want to send something to the mail, I love Bitmoji. You can do like a GIF. I've even recorded myself when I don't use Snapchat, but I save the Snapchat videos, and then I'll send the Snapchat video to my customers, for their birthdays. So that's one way.
You can also do that off of TikTok too.
Yes, I've done that on TikTok as well.
Just
Yeah, fun
FYI.
fact for everyone. Yes.
Just saying, you can download and you don't have to, you can be in your draft and then delete it afterwards, especially if you say someone's name, but I'm just
Exactly. And a lot of times, like I will repurpose and use the same ones over and over. Another thing that I like to do is there's apps out there that are like what is it, like free apps that you can for drawings that you can put in names for free. So actually I do have an app. I would say what it's called, but it actually does not oddly exist anymore, which I don't really know what that's about. I still use it. It's on my phone, but my friends have tried finding it, the same app, but it's whatever. I mean, there's so many out there, honestly.
yeah,
But
I
it's
use Wheel of Names, so
yeah,
it's
so that's
free.
one of the ones that can be used.
And when I used to do it in my VIP, I could put the picture of whatever it is in the middle and change the colors. It was kind of cool because it's all free.
That's cool.
And then
Yeah,
that
I
way I
like
could
that.
spin it and it would show design and it would ask, do you want it to sing something or do you want music? I mean, like it was
Yeah.
pretty elaborate for free, other than it had ads all over it. So you touched any banner or whatever, you got pop-ups, but it worked for the feet. I only used it a couple times, but yeah, it was awesome.
And I use that because I'll load my customers. So that's what I did when I got rid of my VIP group is I had went through, and I mean honestly, you could still do the same thing with like your order history. We as long as you're tracking some form of your customers and the fluctuation of orders, like we somewhat have an idea for our customers are, let's be honest. And so I created a one of those apps. On that app, I put all my customers' names in there. So typically, whenever I do a drawing for that, it would be like if I have a lot of times I don't need my half off rewards. So if that's the case, or if my budget's really tight, I'll draw a name from the app and then I'll contact them and just be like, hey, I have an extra half off. I'd love to be able to gift it to you. So also that's another small way of letting them know that, that we're thinking about them. I'm trying to think about like what else I've done before. Just things of that nature. Oh, and then like other times, just small little, like if you know your customers are like into certain things, like if they collect things like that, not purchasing for them, but like if I'm out and about, I'll snap a photo and just be like, hey, I know how much you like um Highland
Rainbow.
cows.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
rainbows, right? Rainbows, unicorns. How cute is this? I thought, I saw this and I thought of you. Or hell, even like you said, rainbow. So like if it just rained outside and there's a rainbow outside, take a picture, and send to your customer and be like, hey, I was just thinking of you. Hope you have a good day. Things like that, because what I find is, people call them little wink moments, but I call them God moments. And I feel like that when it's on my heart to like, oh, I wonder how so and so's doing, or oh, I want to text them, or I probably should check on them or send them a card. Typically, what we really don't know is that that individual person is going through something, or they're having like not the greatest day. And it's so cool to me, like whenever I do reach out to them or I do send them that card, and timing is everything, because when they do get that card, 9 times out of 10, I kid you not, they're always like, I had the worst day. This card couldn't come at the best time.
Well,
But just things like that.
I have to tell you, your card came yesterday, and it was the cutest little thing, and I so enjoyed it. And
Oh,
it wasn't on a bad moment, but it was so
yeah.
funny. It showed up right before you were coming on, because I was like, oh, like that was perfect. Because I was like, oh, I need to look to see when she's coming up, because I don't really look at anybody who's coming up until
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
day before. And I was like, that's perfect, because it made me remember. Yeah. So it was very, very much appreciated. I didn't message you about it because I was like, oh, I'm going to bring it up on the podcast.
Even cooler to bring it up on the podcast. And that tied in perfectly with what I just said. So how cool
Yep.
is that?
Yep.
That's one of those moments that wasn't by accident.
Yeah. Well, and I really love the fact that and I forgot about, like, I know the features there because I see the daily of like, hey, it's so and so's birthday. But
Yeah.
I forgot because I used to do that. I used to look through and be like, oh, okay, her birthday's this day and her birthday's this day and whatever. And I didn't even like, maybe it's because I took so much of a step back because I wasn't doing the VIP. Because in the VIP, if I said a happy
Yeah.
birthday there, I'd say happy birthday in the VIP and tag them, and it would be like this thing. And I just
Yeah.
kind of stopped doing that because they're not like on my business page. But I never thought about sending out a card, because I could put them in my phone, set them for like a week before for the
Yeah.
alert. So, or at the beginning of
Yeah.
the month, be like, I'm just going to go and mail them out now. Here's
Yeah.
everybody's for the month, get them out. So if it arrives early, who cares if it's early? Who cares if it's a little bit
Yeah.
late?
They're not
Like,
gonna care.
just
Yeah,
a
they're not gonna
card in the
care.
mail that says happy birthday, you thought of me. Like, it,
Exactly.
you know, I
And
love
my
you.
thing is like there's no right or wrong, like you just said, like
Yeah.
perfectly. There's no right or wrong time sending them out. I mean, I've had years where like one year I was on top of it. And I when I say top of it, because it's not that case anymore. But that year it was because I was literally like I would go, I think I spent like some time where it was like the first, like for example, like my team members. So like I got this idea from somebody else where I had like their blank card was like Centiversary, right?
Mhm.
And what I did is I wrote in the corner. I got this from another consultant. She wrote in the corner the Centiversary date. So then that way it was in like a little place in her office, her little office space area, and she knew that like when she looked at like the next months, it would have those dates and then be like, oh, these need to go out for this month. So she actually did it for the whole year. But it just depends. I mean, it also depends upon like how big is your team? Is that scalable? Like if it's not, then it's like that's when you can schedule out text.
Yep.
Some phones you can actually schedule out text ahead of time to let them
Android.
know. Yep. Mhm. Yeah. But I mean, like we said on the calendar, like I'm huge on calendar reminders, and then I'll also will set alarms for myself. And that's what's cool too, is we can set alarms for ourselves like months from now, next year even. But yeah, cards, I feel like a lot of people just don't do that as much anymore. And so I feel like it is nice to actually have something, as simple as it may be, come in the mail, because it does make all the difference.
Yeah, as an adult, the only thing we normally get in the mail is bills. You know,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
love when I get Cincy Happy Mail and I'm like going, oh yay, And lately it's been very far and in between, but when it does, then I get very excited because it's something I don't have to be like, please don't be something I can't pay. Like, don't be a random
Mhm.
bill that I forgot about that I'm like, oh no, because most of my stuff is automated. So I know if it's coming in the mail, it's a bill or someone trying to get money for something. So leave it at that.
So I guess segueing into the next thing is kind of almost connected to like the first thing that we talked about. So stepping out of our comfort zones. So it's kind of similar to what I was just saying. Stepping out of my comfort zone, specifically this year, I will say, because usually like around this time, I normally have like from at least like I'd say September to December mapped out. Normally I would have, everything like events booked every weekend. I would have parties booked. But what I have found is because I feel like therapy, I can definitely owe a big chunk of this to, is that my headspace and my peace within myself is so different this year. And I feel like that embracing the unknown has not necessarily been the most comfortable thing this year. But I feel like that, ironically, with not planning every single weekend out to do events, because events usually something that would be every weekend for me this time of year. But this year has looked a little bit different in a way of not only am I more picky and very specific with the events that I'm doing, which is helping me business wise, but also it's allowing me to have more freedom to show up for my husband and the things that are important that's happening in his life right now. Also, for me to have more time, honestly, for myself, and a little bit more fluctuation, because in the past, like this time of year, I would just be jam packed every weekend to where there was no like in between, there was no wiggle room, and I would have to turn down a lot of otherwise fun things, to do with like friends or for myself or whatever the case may be. But at the same time, it can be a little unnerving to, navigate through the unknown, because I am so used to having, my months planned, to where it's like, this is what I'm expecting for the next month for like what we call front loading. But this year, it's very different because I've almost forced myself to get more out of the box to come up with more creative ways to get PRV. Because, like you were saying earlier, Cassie, it's like for a period of time, sales was just flowing in, flooding basically. And I mean, I remember it was such a blessing to have boxes up to my ears. And
My
I
office,
just
there's
can't
videos
get
I have that
up.
my office, I have boxes back here that I couldn't get to, and doing Happy Mail. I was doing it for every order back then because I was new. I
Yeah.
was mailing out a stack every week. I was like, I spent probably $200 one month in just stamps. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my, I can't keep doing this. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do once a month. Like they ordered
Yeah.
this month, I'm going to mail it next month. And at least it was easier, but then I was, because then I could combine them because
Yeah.
people were buying small thing here, small thing here, small thing here, 3 times a month, 4 times a month, because I was doing so much. They're like, "Put it on your next order." I'm like, "Okay, it's gonna be Friday, Mondays and Fridays." I was doing orders every single time, and they would have, like, 5 or 6 times that they would order from me, and it got very chaotic, and
A
I
lot.
complained,
Yeah.
and then it stopped, and I would complained because 'cause I'm like, "Where wait, why do I have all this free time? My hands aren't cramping from sitting here writing," and, you know, took
Yeah.
us a while to figure out, like I figured out the printer and doing the labels and stuff, like, I had to I learned a lot of things, and then it's like,
Yeah.
I wish I could print some labels, like, I need but
Well, shoot,
yeah,
I was giving birth and collecting orders.
yeah, yeah. Because Kiki's 4? 3. 3.
She's 4. She just
Yeah.
turned 4.
Okay.
She was a 2020 baby.
So
Oh.
it's, and so we relate to this so much, and I'm so glad that we talked about this tonight and that I didn't mean to cut you off, but I
No, you're
like
fine.
it's reminding some of the things that we used to do. And
Mhm.
like the cards, I'm just a horrible card, like I'm a horrible card person. Like I have Christmas cards that I bought in 2020, um, that occasionally I send out. I mean, I got the big stacks. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna send it to all my customers," and it was like, "Well, I'm gonna send it to the top 30," and it's like, "That's a lot. I'm gonna send it to the top 5. Yeah, yeah, I'll just do 5 every year, and like, these are the top one." And then I was like, "That's a lot." Like yeah.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I never thought about just doing for birthdays. I normally did at Christmas time, and I always send out like
Yeah.
a Christmas letter. But I've been moving more stuff digital because,
Mhm.
kinda like
Same.
people also don't get emails that are good emails. It's like you're either getting all my bills are electronic. So everything I get in my email, it's either like, hey, here's your bill. Hey, here's a reminder to pay it. Hey, payday's today. And I'm like, it's already been paid. Quit sending me the emails. But I have to like clear out like 10, 20 emails a day of just like Netflix, Hulu, like, hey, did you know this show's coming out? I don't care. I'll find it when I'm on it. Like,
Take the time for all that.
I was like, I want an email of like, hey, just wanted to see how you're doing. Like, hi.
Yep.
And be
Yep.
like, oh, so I'm moving more to email because Cincy's email system now is so amazing. And like, I'm already started crafting. I think I'm going to do one for Thanksgiving. And then because I want to I know we're going to do something for Cyber Monday, but if we don't, then I'm going to like put something in there for Cyber Monday. So I got to get it ready for this weekend to send out. And then same thing for Christmas. Like I'm going to do, and that way my customers, I'll go to everybody. Like I'm not leaving anybody out. You ever ordered and have your email in my system, you're getting an email. And it might even be, I got to make sure my consultants are out of there, like the ones that customers are consultants. So,
well, and if they don't want it, they can unsubscribe.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the best part too. That because they click unsubscribe, I don't have to worry about bombarding someone to be like, quit sending me emails. Well, you can unsubscribe from them. Like I'm not forcing anything because it tells me how many people are not like undeliverable. And I'm just like, cool. Like, but I don't remember that. I mean, I think I have like a total of like 490 emails, and I think only like about 40 of them are the ones that are like undeliverable. And I'm like, cool, but I never remember those 40. So it's in there. It's gonna say.
I'm the same way. Yeah, like I mean, it makes it so much easier, when it's like undeliverable and you're like, okay, less for me that I have to send out. So let's go ahead and get rid of these. And
Yeah.
Well, and interesting too, like talking about like how it was for some time where like, like you said, like it was definitely not like where it was like post and pray. It was like, oh, post and we get a sale. But it's not that case anymore. And so whenever, especially this year, being that I was scaling back from not doing as many events, I was like, okay, I know that because there's a certain mindset and goal that I have for myself every single month, that if I'm deducting events, right? Not all together, but I'm not doing nearly as many. I have to have something that's going to, just like when I got rid of my VIP group, I was like, okay, I'm getting rid of it, but what is going to be an alternate, to this? That's not going to take as much time, but it's still going to, serve a purpose. And so like, I feel like it was the same way for me this year where it was like, okay, I'm scaling back from events, but what is going to take its place? Because, here I was, relying to an extent on events, but if I'm taking that away, there has to be something to supplement, in between.
Right.
And I feel like that over the years, it's been very fascinating to kind of reflect back on how much my business has turned, so many corners and progressively changed in a way where honestly, like, if I would have asked myself 5 years ago about having a Google business page, I would have never ever, I would have been like, what is that? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I've never heard of that before.
One.
Me too.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's like, it's super cool to think about all these little things, that I didn't know how to do or didn't know about, 5 years prior. And then, up until a certain point. And it's so cool, to think about, like, I think that's one of the most important things in our business is to have multiple funnels that are producing income, producing PRV, not just one thing. And I feel like it's important to have a multitude of things. And for me, it honestly just kind of keeps it spicy, through the month to where it's not the same thing, that's producing my PRV. And it's cool for me to have, these new customers that are coming in because I'm like, hey, where did you find me? So lately I've found that the majority of my new customers every single month that are coming in are either my Google business page, customer referrals, or the Cincy.com website. And it's incredible because there was a time where at the beginning of this year that I was having to get extremely creative and putting myself out there to find new customers. And don't get me wrong, like I still am, but it is very rewarding and it just feels so good when you have these new customers that are coming in that it's like, oh, my work's paying off, my hard work's paying off, talking to like my regular customers and talking to them about referrals and them, putting my name out there. And that's just so cool, when you get those people come in, that fall under that category.
Yeah, Cincy.com is my best referral, because I'm one of the only consultants in my area. So if there's like 9 zip codes, if they put it in, I come up first.
I love it.
Now, let me preface this with I live in the DFW area and there's like 45 zip codes. So it's not like wow, that's like the whole state of Texas. No, that's a very
No.
small drop of
Yep.
where I'm at, that it's 9 zip codes that are around me. And
Mhm.
I always look. So if I see a new zip code that comes in, I do the Cincy.com, do the zip code, and I'm top one that pops up. Or
Yep.
I'm the only one who has a picture, or, so they've gotten on there, but they haven't changed their picture. I also have the 5 stars next to my name. I also have stories in each one of my things. And like, that's why I update it. That's why I keep
Yep.
it updated, because I am a very small town. So when people say, "Oh, I'm in a small town, no one buys from me," guys, there's towns near you that when they do your zip code, they can find you. So you're not
Mhm.
limited here. And I mean, granted, someone from, Washington State's not going to find me from there, but if they put the zip code in wrong, they might. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, you never know.
One number off and I could be hitting another state, or, goodness, I could be hitting somewhere else. I'm excited. So, yeah.
Well, and that's important too. Like you were just saying, like with our Cincy websites, is to make sure that they're relevant and make sure that they're current, because that's something that I don't necessarily pay super close attention to, but I would say once a quarter I do go on, just like you were saying, Cassie. Like I like to go on and look at the ones that I know that are coming up that are in my area, and I'm comparing and contrasting. Like I want to be like, okay, what does theirs look like, and then how can I make sure that mine is going to stand out just a little bit more, from everyone else, because we just never know, when somebody is going to go on to the Cincy website, like for one, what they're looking for, but also like what are they going to connect with? Like
Right.
I've had 2 team members in the last year that have joined, and they didn't know me from Adam. They had just moved to the area, and they both had said that they were looking to join underneath somebody, and they specifically said that they joined based off of my story that I had on there. And one thing that I think is so important is to make sure, at least I would say once every at least catalog season, to go on and update your story, because Lord knows, like my life changes every couple months. So
Yeah.
specifically every catalog season, it's not going to be the same. And and I'm glad that I change it, because my story that I would have had a year ago is so different, for where I am now. And I think that's important, because that's the things that I want to look forward to, for not only who am I going to support small business wise, but if somebody's looking to join, me, I want them to have that, connection, with me. So
Right.
absolutely love that.
No, I think, I mean, and like everything that you've talked about tonight, because I've really, like, I already have my notes all the way down here, because, the 2020 was, for some of us who came in like 2019 and 2020, and probably even a part of 2021, our businesses are so much different now than it was then. And for me, I had to relearn like the basics. Like I've done one home party, and that was this year, because at the time I started, home parties wasn't a thing because everything was shut down. Last week we had on Malin, and she talked about um the influencer bags. And it's like, you have to learn to pivot. You have to learn to take that, what we call the pouch parties or the bag parties, and learn to move it into something that is current, either with trending or with what's relatable to either a different generation or just to different platform, and start utilizing that for our business. And then, talking about having a group of friends that have a different aspect or respect, and being able to bounce ideas off, because
Mhm.
there's so many things that's kind of like, I really want to do something for this. I can put in the chat, and Robin can come up with something, Jackie can come up with something, Lisa will come up with something, and it will be all different, but it still has the same core. And it's kind of like, ooh, I like this idea and I like this idea. but I know I'll never do that. So, because it's just like, that's not how my business runs or my mind works. But we never say like, well, that's stupid. Don't do, I mean, why are you doing that? We're always like, hey, good luck. Let us know, let us know how it works. And, then it's like, I've been doing this, it's not working. And we're like, let's tweak it. And, like, I just need suggestions. Like, I feel like I'm moving into a wall. I need someone to reverse me and kind of like show me where the curve's at, guys, because I'm stuck over here in the corner.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
and then the birthday things, like it's something I need to get back to, even if it is just a text message or, I always say happy birthday on their birthday on Facebook. That's like one thing I do, but figuring out something that's a little bit different than just that and having those pre-recorded videos. But I probably would do it for each person and be like, I'd sing happy birthday because I sing happy birthday to everybody. Like, that's just like
yeah.
my thing. My best friends get a phone call from me on their birthday and I sing.
She sure does.
I do. I
Oh,
even did it for Kiki. I
You
sent
sure
her a little
that's
did.
awesome.
voicemail because I wanted her to know it was her birthday and that, someone else was thinking about
Well,
her.
and Key has grown up like around you guys too.
Yeah.
So like you guys aren't strangers to her. Well, even though sometimes she acts like it, but like she doesn't are.
Yeah, I mean, because we do see each other and we do get to talk to each other, and I think with that community part, it's kind of like you have to lean into your friends and you have to have, because you can't feel like you're doing this alone. And that's when you're pivoting your business, you've got to make sure that you have friends that are willing to watch you pivot, help you pivot, or, kind of stop you and be like, hold on, let let's look at this. Let's just look at it and let's see which way is the best way to pivot, because sometimes we get so focused and we get so pinholed into I'm going this way that you're like, dude, put your brights on, because like there's not the path to go down. So
Well, and I agree. Like I feel like, it's and I mean, I know some will say like I don't have that community, yet. I don't have those friends. And my thing is like I will tell you like the two people that I consider not only like I would say like one of them for sure hands down is my soul sister, and the other, but both of them I call my best friends. And I met both of them through Cincy and by accident. And I say that because one of the two I met, so like I said, I joined late 2019 in October. The following January-ish, I actually attended the last world tour before we all went online. And what was so great was that I met my soul sister, my best friend, and it was right after world tour. We actually went across the way to go to dinner. She's on my upline, and I didn't actually know that at the time. And so I went across the street. My mom had come with me. We sat down on the bench, got dinner, and lo and behold, I was sitting across the way on the same bench from who I call my now soul sister, my best friend. And her and I, we actually didn't really, we talked that night, we did hit it off, but not to the extent of where we're at now. And I think it took probably about half a year to a year for her and I to like sync schedules and meet up and hang out. She lives about probably 40 minutes from me, and the rest is history. But I will say, if anybody, is watching this replay and they're just like, I haven't found my community yet, I haven't found my soul sister, my best friend. The thing is that it's not going to happen on purpose. I feel like that you, like, for me, for example, I'm the one that's going to go to like our Cincy events, and I will purposely sit at like a table with people that I don't know, and I will go to like a row, and I don't want to sit with my group, my posse, because I know those people. Like, we're going to see each other afterwards, we're going to see each other during our lunchtime, whatever the case may be, when we go back home. But I'm a firm believer in making those connections. So it's like if somebody's trying to, want that community, they're hungry for finding that special friend, because I'm 36, and I have never up until 5 years ago could say that I've ever had a best friend. I had individuals in my life that I thought were my best friends, but not to the extent, does not come close to the two people that are in my life, because those two individuals are my ride or die. And the other one I actually met the first time around that I went to boot camp. And I say again, accidentally met her, because long story short, I'm not one for icebreaker games. That you're not, I'm
Yeah, we
not,
talked about
I'm
that.
not, yeah, we talked about that. I'm like, no. And so with this specific icebreaker game, I at that point was really the only one that was sitting at the table still. And I got up and I was like, fake it till you make it, Megan. Just walk around, act like you're participating. It's going to be over with before you know it. And so I started walking around and I wasn't paying attention to where I was walking. And she and I actually like ran into each other. And like we like our entire side of our bodies like ran into each other. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I wasn't paying attention to where I was going. She was like, no, it's my fault. I wasn't looking. And I was like, no apology necessary. I was like, don't worry about it. I was actually going to keep walking because I was like, I'm not here to make friends right now. Like I'm good. And so she's like, wait a minute, you're from Texas? I was like, yeah. And she goes, wait a minute, I'm from Texas. And so that's pretty much where we hit it off. And again, with that one as well, the rest is history. And she actually lives about an hour from me, which is hilarious because, here we are all the way in Cincy home office in another state. And then lo and behold, she's no more than an hour from where I'm at here in Texas. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, Robin and I, like the four of us, I think it was all very accidental, but it was very much on purpose. Like there was a purpose behind it because I met, like I watched Jack before I ever met Jackie. I watched her on video
Everybody knows
training.
Jackie.
Yeah, everybody knows the Jackie Duran. And I watched her on trainings, and my upline got us an invite to her group's SFR the first year it was virtual. So they rented out a cabin or a house thing for a week, and I got to know Jackie. And we started talking every day, and then we like all went to SFR the next year. And we were there, and Robin came with us. And I didn't know Robin because Robin was an upline to somebody else. And so like Robin and I, we were bunk bed buddies. So I put her on the top bed because I was like, you don't want this whole thing falling over if I get up there because I can't promise no one's gonna get hurt. So she got up there. But it was very accidental. Like meeting Jackie, I'd watched her, but I would never have had the guts to walk up to her ever. Even though she is so approachable. Guys, she is so approachable.
Yeah.
I think that if you see her at SFR, you cannot talk to her. But it was just kind of like we had this little group, and then Robin came in and we're like, you're so cool. And she's like, what? Like
I was a totally different person.
Yes.
Back
She
then.
would like it would take everything we could just like, okay, Robin, hi. Like
Yeah.
we gotta talk a little bit. We're in the same room, and so we start chit-chatting and stuff, and then and then Lisa's Jackie's downline. So again, and she was a roll-up. So she wasn't actually a recruit from Jackie, she was a roll-up. And
Yeah.
she started hanging out, like, so it
That's
all
cool.
came together, but it was never a like we were never all put together in one spot. It's just that we kind of like we're in a stream and we just kind of started hanging on to each other. We just kept going. So
well, and I knew Jackie because we have the same upline, but I never talked to her on that level. But I was also in a whole different era of my life back then. And so she wasn't like a stranger to me. Like I knew her. We weren't best friends.
But we are all now. Like, we've seen each other's family on our Zoom. We used to Zoom all the time. We see our family, so we all know each other's husbands and we all know each other's kids.
Shoot, we sleep together when we go to SFR.
So now we do share. We are not in bunk beds. We are side by side. Robin is my bed buddy. I got to keep her warm. I'm the heater and she's cold, and so her husband's the heater. I'm the heater. So, but and
cool.
we get a room together for SFR every the last 3 years now.
Yeah,
well, I guess 2 years,
2 years.
But the first year was Jackie was in we got a house. We did the Airbnb.
Yeah.
We decided we're not going to do that. We wanted just to have a hotel room close. We didn't want to have to drive cars kind of thing.
And since we all split the cost, it's cheaper anyways. And we're only sleeping in the hotel room. Like it's not like so
except for when we did the podcast, that was lots of fun. And then people taking pictures and TikToks of me. Yeah, we just sleep in there except for whenever we're going to embarrass Cassie on like TikTok.
Of you gnawing on the bracelet.
Yes! Oh my gosh, they made a whole thing. It was a thing. It was a thing.
I love that. That's
But
awesome.
and it is so the community, you don't ever find them. I think you just kind of get like there is somebody else in Cincy that is your future best friend and showing up to the
Yeah.
events and showing up and being present. And it's
Yeah.
hard because I am awkward. I talked about this. Like I don't like icebreakers because I don't know what fruit I would be. I don't know what animal
Yeah.
I would be. And I'm like, can we just get to the nitty gritty and be like, look,
But honestly, like, who sits down and thinks about like what animal they would be in life? Like,
it's
who's doing that? Because it
I
ain't
have
me.
an answer, but it's like I can't pick just one, and then it's like when you put me,
it's like, what
so
day is it? Like my animal will change every day because there's sometimes I need to be the bear, the mama bear, but there's other days that I just want to be a cat because all I got to do is sleep. Like someone come and pet me and put me to bed. Like I'm
you put
good.
me on the spot. I like put on the spot. Like I just forget about things altogether. So it's like, Megan, what's your favorite animal? And then I'd be like, what are animals? Like,
Yeah,
like
like
nothing.
is it
No
fish?
one
Is
does
fish an
home.
animal? Like I don't know. It's like, oh, you want a specific fish, like the one with gills, like in the water?
I'm like, oh, don't make me answer that. Yeah. And then it's like my brain is in a whirlwind because ADHD. I'm like, man, I'm listening to everybody's answer, and then I'm overthinking how am I going to answer, and it's just like it's such a simple thing, but then for somebody like with my brain, it's like it's not so simple at all. And I'm like, can I just say my name and introduce myself and then just sit down? Like, I
Like
don't
if
have
they
to.
want to talk to me and they find me interesting when I say my name, they can come talk to me. Maybe I don't know unless I go. But yeah, I'm like whenever we go to World Tour, and I didn't even think about it because I always go with my husband. And this year I told him due to finances that I was going to go by myself. But it also gives me an opportunity to meet other people that are going to be local because
Mhm.
that is one part because with Robin and Jackie they're in Missouri, and then we have Lisa that's out in California. So we're not close enough to go like, hey, let's go grab lunch.
Yeah.
Let's just get out of the house. Let's just go run around for a little bit because I think honestly it'd be dangerous if we did live that close.
But we would have so much
Oh my God.
fun.
We'd have so much fun. Because I'd be like this, Robin, I don't have school today. I said, drop kicking you off. Let's go.
I would skirt over so fast.
She would like, hold on, girl. And it would be a lot of fun. But I want to find, I want to just find a local community because every time that I have found local events, I've always, and I love my husband, but I'm so focused on him at the events because I want him to have a good time and I want him to know that this is the reason why. But at the same time, is that I think doing some of these events by myself, that way I'm going to talk to somebody because I can't shut up. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't matter World Tour. If I'm there and I am by myself, I'm going to be like, oh, that was so funny. Like I'm going to do that but I normally do that with my husband. But if I don't get out of that, and I got to get out of that rut. And because I am awkward and I don't know what to say because I don't do small chat. It's more or less like, how's your business running? What's good? What's bad? Like, what do you want to work on? Like, I'm all about let's get into the business of it, not like, how's the weather today? Like,
Yeah.
your umbrella? Oh, cool. Have a great day. And then I'm like, I'm like, I'm just done. Like,
Hey, bye.
but I
I'm
need
the
to
same way.
pivot and I need to grow. I need to grow a little bit more of a better community of someone who's local because there is times that I have because I'm a recent empty nester, so I don't have kids that I'm taking back and forth or picking up or taking here, and it's something that way I know I'm never a bother, but that way I'm not like, hey guys, I need your like I need to run some ideas by you, and it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and
Yeah.
like oh. I need someone who just knows that when I message them, just message me back, whenever.
I ain't the one. My phone's on silent.
So, but that way someone's close. It's kind of like, I need it because there's times that I just need to like, hey, I just need to talk it out like with somebody because when you talk about your business or talk about the stuff that's work, like if you're trying to pivot, like it
Yeah.
really was one of those things when I decided for my VIP group, I'm like, I don't want to lose that connection with them. But I've been slowly moving to text messages, not even Facebook messages, because the day that Facebook went down for almost 24 hours, I thought I was going to die. Like all my customers, Do I have their numbers? If they haven't ordered from me, Facebook Messenger was down, Facebook was down. So it was not a way for me to reach out. And I've slowly, that was my backup, was I do text them. Any order that gets placed on there, I have a text conversation with them, unless they don't have their phone number on there. Then it's,
Yep.
and then the rest of them know that like my phone number is on everything. And I'm like, you can message me at any time. Like, you'll never wake me, because if I'm out, I'm out. And if I'm up, don't be surprised if you get a response. It could be 3 o'clock in the morning. I might be up. Who knows? And maybe my, morning wake up that I just happen to get up and wander around the house. But yeah, it's
Well,
just learning to pivot and being scared. You're going to have to do it scared, because
yeah.
it's something that we always teach them, VIP groups. That way you can build that connection, but it's not the same now. And the
Mm,
platforms aren't the same. So when
yeah.
things start to change, you have to learn to pivot. No
Yeah.
matter what, economy, the platforms, the algorithms, like
Well,
I'm not
and
getting the interactions I got before, because they're not seeing my stuff, because I found a message about, I don't know, about a month or so ago, saying that I had posted something in the Canva group, and the quote was incorrect about who said it. And they told me that I would not be pushed out to people.
oh my gosh.
And so that's the time that I stopped, because I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
not getting any interactions, because they were blocking
Because of
me,
the algorithm. Yeah.
because the checkers came and got me. And I'm like, what? I found this notification by accident. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I don't even think I'm being seen now. That's why I'm doing text messages. That's why I'm doing emails, because I'm not getting the interaction that I wanted or that I was getting. And I knew I had to change something. And it hurts. It's hard, because I'm not getting the PRV, but
Yeah.
I'm building something. And I knew when I took the step back to regrow my business that there was going to be rough spots, because I'm basically starting over, not completely first step new, but I'm like second or third step getting back into the groove.
Yeah, because like I've noticed that, I mean, ever since like last year, and making the changes with not only like I said, my VIP group, and getting rid of that, but getting rid of my team page as well. And then this year was interesting, is I feel like that what I've started to do, because even this year I've actually started looking at other things that I'm going to completely do different going into this new year. And so this year was kind of an idea in the back of my mind of like, okay, what is it that I'm going to not necessarily like get rid of, but make a big scary change on. And so I think for me going into like this next year will be like Happy Mail, and like how I approach that. And I will say first and foremost that when it comes to, because I know you're talking about, Cassie, like having like it would be nice to like have somebody like close enough to us to where we can actually like, link up and talk about, things in our business and brainstorm and things of that matter. And funny enough, one of the things that has tremendously helped me is going back to therapy, and leading back to therapy, because my therapist, she not only is a therapist, but she's also in the entrepreneurial world. She has a couple of hats that she wears, and so it's been incredible over, because I feel like I've seen her for like at least the last 4 years. So she's actually been my therapist for the vast majority of my Cincy life. And what's interesting is being able to bounce ideas off of her and
Yeah.
talk to her things about the not so great things that are happening in my business, maybe the not so great things that are happening to me personally, or maybe like with my team members, or, what's been really nice is having somebody to be like someone that is in the middle, like that doesn't have a clue about
Yep.
Cincyland,
Yep.
that doesn't have a clue, or somebody perhaps that's like stuck in their ways, right? Of like the way they've always done things, or is it that unbiased opinion. I never, ever, ever thought that I would have incorporated talking about like my business in with my therapy sessions. But there are times where, like, for example, my own podcast, that was something that I had talked about well over a year ago. And it was something that I had brainstormed with her. And I was like, hey, I'm already doing these trainings that I'm pre recording in for my team, but I really want to take it up a level and I want to do something different with it. And I was like, what do you think about a podcast? And she's like, oh, yeah. And so here she was like, pumping me up and telling me like, oh, that would be so cool, and you would do really great at it, things like that. I'm able to, talk out with her in a way that I really wouldn't probably get the same response from
Right.
somebody that's in our world, because I feel like when it's somebody in our world, they're thinking about like their business, right? And they're like, how would I go about doing things, or how would that affect me, or if they've even perhaps done it before, because I feel like we're guilty of that even on a personal level. When a friend comes to us for advice, we typically like automatically lead with our emotions. So then we're by nature leading with our past experiences and not going to give an unbiased opinion on, of the fact of the matter. Or we're so quick to give our opinion instead of like listening and active listening. And so I feel like that's what's really beneficial for me, being able to have like that person, weekly, I can, every now and then like bounce those things off of.
Well, and I think that with having someone outside of Cincy, and even somebody who's not even in your circle, it's kind of like reaching up to a different upline, or reaching out to another SSD or star
Yeah.
or another director, or someone who is not in the midst. Like after director boot camp, if reaching out to some of the girls afterwards, because it was such an experience, but it's not my normal group of conversations.
Yeah.
And, and the therapy that's probably something I really need to do. But I listen to with with you going to therapy, and even Robin has she does a podcast as well, and she's been going through therapy, and it's something that's why her business has changed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really want to tell her story, but
You're good.
you want to interject.
Yeah, no, Kinsley was over here. Then Liam needed tape for his stuffed animal that the dog chewed up. Okay, so rewind a little bit because
Therapy.
a little. Yes, therapy. I did therapy for a couple of years actually. I come from a very trauma-filled background. My dad is an alcoholic, and to this day he still drinks, so I do not talk to him.
Mm.
I have a lot of sexual abuse trauma from being a kid that I actually just recently worked through, and I'm turning 33. So it took me a long time to get over that. I was in a 5-year abusive relationship and I had 3 kids from that. That was hard. So all of that packed together, and then I met my husband, who comes from parents who are still married and have like a great marriage. Now, obviously their marriage had ups and downs, but they're still married. They work through it. My husband knows how to love somebody. I did not want to accept his love for the longest time. And
Mm.
so it wasn't until around COVID time, or 2019, it was actually 2019 before we got married. We said we are going to go to therapy before we get married, because we are not going to spend all this money on a wedding to turn around and get divorced. And so we did therapy together for at least a year. And I was also doing therapy for myself to heal from all of my trauma.
Mm.
And here we are.
Well, and
Now
then
we're doing a podcast to share that.
but how did it help with your business? Like, when that's kind of where we were a little bit.
So I would say the version of the person that I am today, all bubbly and like wanting to talk and share, is not the person that actually Texas met back in whatever 2020, whenever it was. He met a totally different person who was very insecure, very shy, was not outgoing. I didn't have friends. I really wanted friends, but I'm like, I didn't even love myself at that point
Mm.
to be able to have somebody else love me. And so business wise, it has helped me get out of my comfort zone. Learn how to communicate with people, learn to open up, and be okay with being vulnerable and sharing your feelings. So when you look at my social media, like that is what that's what I try to share, because I know there's other women out there that have been in my shoes and they just don't know what steps to take. And so I think that's what's helped the most, is me just being able to use my story to help other women. Even if they're not going to join my team, like that's fine. I still made a connection with you. Maybe you'll join my team in a year. Like I don't know, so just being able to be more open is what has helped my business continue to grow.
Yeah, because whenever we first met Robin, it was like, we want to be your friend, and she's like, why? And we're like, we kind of
Legit.
like you, and you're like, why? Like, what do you want? And that's why I was saying we accidentally, but we were purposely put together, because where Robin was so insecure, we're like, oh my gosh, but because Robin's gorgeous. And it's like having to remind her that you can do this business. Like, you can, and like, we're still working on Lisa, trying to get her behind the camera more consistently, because people love to hear her talk, because she does so many amazing things. And it's like, we have to find our voice within, and that means that is change, and that is pivoting, and it's learning how to incorporate your personality and your person like your personal stuff in with your business as well, because our business is never going to be just about business. Cincy has never just been about, let's make $1, let's recruit, and let's move on. It's all about, cultivating relationships and finding that place within us that we can shine, and allowing us to shine.
Yeah, and
finding and finding that community that's not going to be like, oh my gosh, you want another trip, like you, and just be like, there's no jealousy. It's kind of like when someone, because Lisa hits, the monthly sales award every month, and it's like, whoop whoop, it's
no,
exciting.
I am so excited for her, but I'm like, gosh dang it, like I want to do that too,
And it's like, but we have to find our own way, because Lisa is, she posts 12, 15, 20, 30 times a day, but it's never spammy. And it's like the way she does it, and it's not something that can be duplicated. It can be copied and pasted, but you're never going to be able to keep up with her. But at the same time, is that it's very hard for her to do a video, but I could do videos all day long. I can do training. I can sit here and do this from all different platforms all day long, no problem. But me to type out a post and to get the picture that I want in there and incorporate it and get it seen is harder for me. And so learning to understand where you lack and being able to find people, because there's times I call Lisa and I'm like, Lisa, I need a picture of a pod. And when we decided to do this podcast, I was like, I need just a picture of pods. She's like, open in the cases. I'm like, open, just throw them around, like, do your thing. And then that was like the background cover of one of the canvases that we had, because it was just like, the podcast. We sell pods. Like, this is awesome.
And then Jackie came up with the podcast name, and I was like, that is actually really smart.
I thought you came up with it.
No, that was Jackie.
Oh, the who knows
I just
best.
did the creating in Canva.
Oh, and then I'm the one who organizes everything. So I'm the one
you do all the wording.
I do all the wording. I figure out all the stuff for, the intros, and then I also find, people to be able to fill some extra spots, because it got to the point where we were getting so busy in our lives, we couldn't all four be here. And so then it was like, I don't mind doing a podcast by myself, but is it really a podcast if I'm just talking? Like,
right.
Now we need
I do that training anyway, so it's better to be able to bounce ideas and talk about it. So it's and it's something that we pivoted. I brought it up to the group, and they're like, yeah. And when I got rid of my team page completely, and we merged into all 4 of our teams are in one, and it gives them information. But at the same time, because Facebook has blocked so much of my stuff, I've kind of stepped back from Facebook a little bit. And my goal is by the beginning of the year to kind of start figuring out if I can get back into Facebook. But I'm cultivating so much with my customers and my teamies by just texting them, that I don't know if I need to go back on Facebook, because not everybody has Facebook. Like, I'm noticing more and more the younger generation is not on Facebook. And
now they're over on TikTok.
and I'm learning TikTok. Like, I have been taking, it's been October that I went to TikTok, like forcibly made myself go on TikTok to learn the platform. I go live on there, but I had to pivot because I wasn't getting the results that I wanted on Facebook. I still don't understand Instagram to save my life. Jackie is the queen of Instagram.
Me and Insta
friends. I can't get anybody to notice me on Instagram. So I'm like, I gotta find something that works for me, because I was hitting walls. TikTok, I don't even talk about Cincy, but if they see stuff behind me and they ask, I talk about it, and I kind
Yeah.
of leave it nonchalant. I was like, if you need more information, you can, check my profile or you can find my picture and go look because it's there, but it's not predominant. I have it on it's like Linktree, but it's beacons. And so
No,
if
yeah.
they want to know, they can go. But I'm not there to promote Cincy. I'm there to
Same.
learn about the platform. And I need something for me. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. I could like I love TikTok. Like I've been doing TikTok for over 2 years, I think now. And I credit that to Debbie Fitz Palmer 100% because when I saw that she was doing TikTok, I'm like, you know what? If Debbie can do TikTok, I can do
I
TikTok.
didn't know Debbie did TikTok.
Yes, she does reels, y'all, and she did reels and TikTok, and it inspired me because I was like, okay, if I'm already on TikTok and I'm already scrolling and watching all these videos, why can't I just do it myself? And so I laugh because I don't I'm the same way with TikTok. Like I don't promote my business on TikTok. If I on occasion will accidentally have like a Scentsy shirt or a Scentsy hat, but I laugh so much because I TikTok is like where I go unhinged. and and I laugh when people find me on TikTok because I'm like, you're not gonna see Scentsy on TikTok. Like you're not gonna nothing Scentsy. And it cracks me up when my customers do find me on there because I'm like, this is the most raw, unedited version of myself. I pretty much treat my TikTok page as kind of like a diary, basically, like a diary entry. And it's like things that come to mind,
Yeah.
during the day. I get on there and I'm normally like my two catchy favorite sayings. I'll either say fun fact or I'll say, okay, story time. And then and I'll share something like on the whim. But I want to go back to like what you were talking about earlier. Well, actually what both of y'all were talking about earlier, where it was like having, like when you have when we use and like channel our things that we've been going through, and that we've worked through, and channeling that in a way to like be authentic and connect, with our customers. And that kind of like it was a perfect segue into like my third point, and it's giving more than we take. And I feel like that it's not, I want to say first and foremost, it is not easy for anyone by any means to be raw and honest when it comes to being vulnerable, especially on social media platforms.
Right.
And I feel like that it's okay for us to pick and choose because it did take time for me to kind of warm up to the idea of how much do I want to leak out, to my customers? Like, how much do I want them to know? And little by little, it did help for me to start opening up in my own way of sharing like my story and and the all of the trials that I went through because it's still it to this day because I can't look back on the last 5 years since I've been a consultant and think about like all of the hard things that came my way and to be able to be like, you know what, I persevered and I showed up during times where I was what's referred to as masking. I was showing up to Zoom trainings and calls where I was going through things, but I was also showing up because it was the one thing that was like keeping my head above water,
Yep.
and it was helping me to keep a positive mindset that things are going to get better because everything else in my life was not so much.
Yeah.
And, Cincy was definitely my savior for, me to just keep my head on, straight. And through that, I've learned that it's important for us to give more than we take in a way of humbling ourselves enough to know that there are people that are around us every day that are hurting, that are going through things, even if we can't judge their social medias platforms, just like how we are sometimes on our own,
Yep.
is that it's more than meets the eye. And I feel like it's important to give more and than we take in a way of how can I serve my customers? How can I be a beacon of light, for them? How can I be a positive light for them? And a lot of times that's going to be me showing up raw and honest and taking a picture of me laying in the recliner and being like, hey, today is a relaxing day. Today I just decided to take a little break for myself and fill my cup back up. And I think it's important to show, the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs, you know and a lot of times like with my customers in person, like I talk to them about how through the beginning of like my Scentsy journey I struggled with infertility. My husband, thanks be to God, is going on almost 5 years of sobriety, So we went through that in the last 5 years. Not to mention like the ups and downs in our own personal marriage. Me struggling with not only depression, but then ADHD burnout, and then also discovering that I do have ADHD and all that looks like, with that being said, and with therapy, now I'm able to focus on, how can I get back to my customers? How can I show up to them for them? And again, just going back to like the personal cards, texting them, checking in on them, making sure that we're making them fully aware that they're more than just a number, and I feel like it's circling back because I did a lot of that during 2020 and 2021, because it was like, okay, like we were saying before, we're not doing a lot of home parties. We're gonna have to pivot
Right.
and do differently in our business to where we're still, gaining customers and moving forward and growing our business. And how's that gonna look? And so during that time, it was like, okay, I have all these host rewards. I can put together clean bundles and laundry products. And I can, and a lot of times, it was like if it was my own host rewards, not the half price credits, but the host rewards, I was putting together little bundles and I was dropping them off at my customers' houses. And I was like, hey, I have these host rewards. I wanted to surprise you. I just dropped something off at your front door. Hope you have a great week. And it could have been a bottle of counter clean, it could have been some Scentsy whiffs. And not to say that I was doing that like every week of every month, but it was like every so often, if I saw somebody was like in a little bit of a slump, it was like, how can I like make their day a little bit brighter? And I feel like that's what this year is coming into, is that this whole year has been, how can I show up more for my team members? How can I serve and show up more for my customers in a way where it's not just PRV related?
Yeah.
And because my thing is that sales will come. Sales will
Yep.
naturally come. As long as we're planting the seeds, as long as we're showing up in our business every day, at least doing one thing a day, showing up in our business, that will take care of itself in the long run. But
Well,
what's
and I
not going to take care, go ahead.
sorry. No, go ahead.
But what's not going to take care of itself is the relationships that we have with our customers. That we actually, just like the growth process, when we think of like fruits and vegetables and all the things, it's like in flowers, we have to, there's work to be done, right? Like we plant the seeds and we have to water it and we have to keep an eye on it. And I feel like it's the same way with our customer relationships, is that I find that as long as I'm showing up for them authentically, so checking in on them, and also being honest with them when there's been seasons in my life where I'm having a really hard time,
Yeah.
right? And just being honest with them and just be like, hey, I'm so sorry. And a lot of times I can't do that in the moment. Like I'm not going to be able to be like, hey, it's a very dark time, for me this week. I'm not going to be able to be present, but later on, circling back, and be like, I apologize. I haven't been showing up like I wanted to. And then just letting them in on what's going on in my life, because odds are they're either going to be able to relate to it or it's going to make me a little bit more human.
Yeah. Right.
And then to be like, wow, I really didn't know what you were going through. Thanks so much for showing up and let me know.
Well, and it's something whenever you let you let that little bit of vulnerability out with your customers of when you are having a hard time. And I got sober after I started Cincy. So I was in Cincy for
Mhm.
about a year, almost exactly a year whenever I decided to get sober. And that changed my business then because there's a lot of people I didn't see. I was selling so much at the bar and I was selling so much, I was doing drop offs. And then all of a sudden I was like, I can't go. Like I was so weak. And
Yeah.
with me, my sobriety, I don't really talk about a lot on like Facebook, but I talk about it on TikTok because it's been able to
Mhm.
help. It's like it's a therapy session every time I go live.
Definitely.
But but a lot of people who knew me from the bar just knows that I got sober. And I did lose customers, but I gained better customers, like, if that
Yeah.
makes sense, because
Yeah.
it
Definitely.
I wasn't I'm a better consultant after I got sober because I
Yeah.
was remembering, I was still following through with some things. But then now I've gotten to the point where I'm an empty nester. And so like these last couple this since August, my daughter, when she moved out, I'm like, I don't know what to do with my life because there's not someone else that needs me. Like my
Yeah.
husband doesn't need me. Like, I don't have to wake him up or make sure that he, goes and does this or, schedules appointments. He can do all that on his own. So I didn't have that constant of like, hey, mama, 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 mama.
Mm.
And then I'm at that age, I'm a little bit older, but I'm going through perimenopausal. So my hormones and my emotions, like everything is going crazy. And when
Mm.
you're going crazy, and then you realize that it's a natural progression of life and that you're not crazy. It's just your hormone balance is off and it makes you emotional. And
Yeah.
letting my customers know that, hey, I just kind of been going through some stuff. It doesn't matter how long it's been. Like I
Yeah.
remember after I got sober that going back and messaging all those customers from that first year of like so many people I missed because I could have 20 orders in a day. And in
Yeah.
1 week I could have 100 orders. And then in the month it was looking at like
Yep.
700 orders because I was hitting 4,000. I was hitting
Yeah.
$3,800 in sales, and it was
Yeah.
a lot. And I had to go back and be like, hey, I was going through some stuff in my life and I didn't reach out. And most of them were like, oh, no, thanks, because they just want to be acknowledged. The
Yeah.
customers just
Sure.
want to get seen. And so if you're like, if anybody's watching this and you haven't reached out to your customers in a while, it's okay. Like, reach out to them when you can and reach out to them. And you don't have to let them know all the nitty gritty, but you can just tell them a little bit about like, I've had some stuff going on in my personal life or however much you want to share, and just to let them know I haven't forgotten you, but I've gotten off course. And that's also going with growing with your business. And
Mm.
as we grow in our business and as we grow up, I mean, I'm 45 years old and all my kids are out of the house. And so this is a new stage for me and my business is moving with me. Like we're pivoting, we're moving around, we're trying to figure out like what works for me now because it was different. I liked being busy. I liked having, Monday nights was this with my daughter and Tuesday nights was this with Cincy, and then Wednesday nights was something with my husband, and then Thursday nights was Cincy, and then Friday nights were, my daughter was like she'd always have events. She was in archery, so it was like I had all these weeks planned, and that throw some events in there, and it was like a constant everything go, and then everything kind like God moves things and out of your way when He
Yeah.
knows something else is coming up, and then I start hitting this pivotal a moment in my adulthood that I needed time for myself.
Yeah.
And as an empty nester, you have to learn, who are you when you're not mom?
Mm. Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
are you when you aren't driving someone back and forth to school and making sure they did their homework and making sure that they eaten today? Did you drink water? Are you feeling sick? Who are you when you don't have that person who needs you? And
Yeah.
it's a very hard point to be very open about that just to your customers, brand new customer. No, thanks, but just FYI, I'm an empty nester. I'm ADHD, I'm perimenopausal. And by the way, sometimes a little cuckoo and cray cray because I don't know what
Yeah.
my body's doing.
Like,
But thank you so
buckle
much
up.
for your order. But it's something to say that, like there's people that I can still reach out to and be like, hey, I know you ordered a couple months ago. I just wanted to check back with you
Yeah.
because, it is, if you don't know, my daughter moved out and she's at college and I've been in my field. And you can
Yeah.
leave it from there. You don't
Yeah.
have to go into anything big and you don't even have to say, but life around my house has been a little bit different.
Yeah.
Because I like that we all have different examples, but it's something that I don't want to say these are your excuses you can use, but these are excuses you can use. These are
Make
relative
something
terms.
more relatable,
Yeah.
because I feel like that it's gonna help anybody other than us, like anyone watching this, like it's gonna help us stand out as Cincy consultants, not just Cincy consultants, but just stand out, period.
Right.
Because I feel like that I feel like there's so many people or so many individuals out there that are not even outside of Cincy. Like, I mean, there's so many people that I support that are my friends, and a lot of them are not following up with me, like whenever I
Yeah.
place an order, or even more importantly, after the order's placed, right?
Yep.
The in between mundane. And I feel like that it is like a band-aid that's going to be ripped off because it is going to be freaking uncomfortable, right? To
Yep.
like message those people because it's gonna be like that frog in our throat, that icky feeling in our stomach that we feel like we're just gonna, in front of everyone because nobody wants to, like for me, like I don't want to admit that I failed, right? That I misstepped, like I let myself down, I let them down, and it's like, I mean, it's an old emotional journey, right? Because then we're just like making ourselves feel worse because then we're just like, well, what
Because
if
we're
they?
overthinking it.
Yes, exactly, and it's an ADHD. It's a rabbit hole for. It's not even ADHD because some people,
It's just
don't
a
have
rabbit
ADHD.
hole. Yeah.
It's a rabbit hole, yeah, and it's a constant, whirlwind of emotions, and my thing is like completely aside from this topic of what we're talking about tonight, but ChatGPT is my best friend.
Yep.
And a lot of times when I do have that awkward moment when I just don't know what to say to somebody, no matter what the circumstances are, I always go to ChatGPT. It's basically my assistant because I'll go to it and I'll type up all of the word vomit of what I'm needing to express. And I'll say, please help me reword this for a past customer that, I haven't talked to in a while.
Yep.
And I get my little spiel of what I want to tell them, and I just love that it so eloquently puts it together.
And then you can be like, shorten it. Nope,
Yeah,
elaborate on this, but don't elaborate. Like it is.
yeah,
It's a complete virtual assistant. And
yeah,
I honestly think that with the things that we go through, or well, hold on, let me say it this way. Whenever we order things from other people, I think Cincy has set my standards so high in what I expect from other people that when I don't get it, I realize like this a way for me to think about this because I do have that ADHD brain and I do have that caregiver and I want to I want to be the shining light for anybody and everybody. But I have to
yeah,
remind myself that just anything, saying thank you, sending out happy mail, sending an email, a text message, even if it's just like shouting them out on social media, anything is better than nothing.
yeah.
And most places do nothing.
Do nothing.
And because I there's a lot of things I order from other places. I'll tell you what, Amazon only sends me one email.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for your order. And that'll be all I get. Now they will send me other stuff being like, hey, you ordered this. There's also this here. And so when I get inside my head, and I think this is also something with my age of being a little bit older, is that I've realized that I can't think about what you're thinking about. Like
yeah,
I have to stop myself and be like, I don't know what Megan's thinking about. I don't
yeah.
know where I don't know where Megan's mind space is at. And so I can't automatically assume I know what she's gonna think
No,
and
we
what she's
can't.
gonna say.
Yeah,
And so because I could have a bad interaction with somebody and it was literally the worst day of their entire life, but they didn't want to
but
tell me.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you have to come from an aspect is that when you run a business, you cannot insinuate what anybody else is thinking. You can't say they're going to hate me because it's been a year since I contacted them. So what?
yeah. Because my thing is
They're
like
going to tell you if they're like, don't contact me again, they're going to tell you. I promise you.
yeah,
We're in the day and age that people are keyboard warriors. They will tell you flat out if they do not want you commenting or messaging them or
yeah,
anything. So allow them to have that opportunity to do it. Don't shut yourself down and don't put and set yourself apart, like set yourself out. Like
yeah,
don't call yourself out and go home. You need to be like, okay, well, I'm gonna throw my hat in. I'm gonna take this.
yeah.
And the worst case scenario is they let you know, but the best, I mean, it could be a new
But
customer and be like,
like
thank you.
we by human nature lead with our emotions. So we're naturally going to, like you just said, like we're naturally going to assume that, oh, they're gonna hate me. They're gonna send back this nasty text. It's gonna be the worst thing ever. But the thing is like I said, like figure out what you want to say, copy and paste it over to your customers, bless and release it. That's one of my favorite sayings is
Mhm.
bless and release it. Get the hell out of your phone, out of your email, because you did your job.
Yeah.
You do your job. It's like
Yep.
working a 9 to 5 job, and it's 9 to 5 job, and it's on your memo. It's on the sticky note your boss left, and it's
Got to
like,
run
hey,
that report. You got to make
yeah,
sure you email it to
gotta
15
gotta
people.
reach out to these.
Yep.
I mean, think about the poor people who have to call like electric companies and phone companies. They're calling customers who have not been around for like so many months or a year.
Or
Do you think
have you gotten the phone call for the extend your car warranty? I mean, because they
right?
have to call and text all day long and people hate them. So
Yes,
getting
but
that
they're
little bit that you can give and share with somebody else is something that they're going to appreciate.
yeah,
And I think that's, that goes back completely to our topic because what you talked about was the embracing change and the pivoting into the unknown and leading with generosity. And I think, oh, I also do, before we end this out, I do want you to plug your podcast. So,
Cool.
so if you want to go ahead and do that.
I can definitely do that. So if you guys want to follow me, I do have a podcast on YouTube. It is called Unscrambled Faith. And I have a lot of fun there. Yeah, and I will say I have taken it in a different direction. It's not necessarily Cincy focused. So if you guys are looking for something that's like out of the box, a little bit different, I do specifically talk about more or less like community and faith and how to be a business owner and balance your faith and friendships at the same time, and how to get along in this life that is so chaotic, and how we can unscramble our faith through a very chaotic world that we currently live in.
Well, and I will say that I absolutely am so thankful that you were able to come on tonight, and I have so much stuff written down, and I think that's why we started doing the podcast, and I wanted to bring guests on, because we need the outside perspective. And when, like, I'm learning, like, I honestly, maybe I'm doing this very selfishly, because it's like I get personalized training every time someone comes on, because I'm like, give it all to me, come on. And it fills my cup, because it gives me the insight to be able to see outside myself and outside of our little group, because we do, I think all of us at some point kind of we start thinking more alike, and it's like we forget that there's so many other aspects of our business that we may not touch, because maybe none of us have done it, or we've done it a long time ago before one of us came in. So I do want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on tonight, because I have completely enjoyed it. And
Me, it's been so cool. I was so excited for this, honestly.
This has been so fun. So I'll go ahead and close this out, guys. So thank you so much for coming on to Who Knows Best. Guys, we are just Cincy consultants talking about life, talking about what inspires us, how we work our businesses, because we all can work our businesses different and still get ideas from other people. So if you haven't heard this today, I love you. We love you. You are strong. You are important. You are worthy. You can do this business. Find what you love, find what brings you joy, and go with it, and find a way to work it into your business. Please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to our podcast wherever you are watching this at. And follow us for more, because we have exciting guests for next week. I can't wait for y'all to meet them, and we will see you guys later.